Whether you're ready for it or not, the 2019 season is here, NASCAR fans. And now there have been quite a few changes happening throughout the sport for the last several months. So just in case you're one of those people that's been living under a rock since last November, today's video is going to catch you up on everything you need to know for the start of the 2019 Cup Series season. Now there are a lot of places we could start this video. New management, new rules, but I think the best place to start would be with the drivers. You know, basketball wouldn't be anything without the players, Pirates of the Caribbean wouldn't be anything without Jack Sparrow, so let's talk about the drivers and personalities and where they are going to be in 2019. This last silly season was definitely one for the ages. To start with, Martin Truex Jr., the 2017 champion, is moving over to the Toyota mothership Joe Gibbs Racing to drive the number 19 car. His old team Furniture Row Racing shut down at the end of the 2018 season, but have no fear, both Truex and his crew chief Cole Pern have found new homes at JGR. Daniel Suarez, the former driver of that number 19 car, will be moving over to Stewart-Haas Racing in 2019 to drive the 41. Kurt Busch, who spent the last several years in that car, will now be moving over to Chip Ganassi Racing in the number 1 Chevrolet. The 2004 champion is of course replacing Jamie McMurray, who has announced that the Daytona 500 will be his final Cup Series race before he steps into a broadcasting role at Fox. Of course, those aren't the only changes. Veteran Ryan Newman will be moving over to Roush Fenway Racing to drive the number 6 car. That car was split between Trevor Bayne and former champion Matt Kenseth last year. Both of those drivers have indicated that they will not race in 2019. Matt DiBenedetto is moving on from Go Fast Racing. This year he will be behind the wheel of the number 95 for Levine Family Racing. Now that team is also switching to Toyota and will be aligned with JGR. The driver of the 95 last year was Casey Kane. Casey Kane has also indicated that he will step away from NASCAR and instead will spend a lot of time with his World of Outlaws dirt racing team. Taking over that 32 car for Matt DiBenedetto is Corey LaJoie, and he's already made quite a few headlines with his creative paint scheme for Daytona. And now there are some new rookies in the Cup Series this year. Daniel Hemrick is moving up to RCR's Cup Series program. He will be driving the number 8 car, which was formerly the number 31. Ryan Preece will run his rookie season behind the wheel of the 47 for JTG Doherty Racing, replacing AJ Allmendinger, who announced he will be moving into a TV role with NBC Sports. Recently, it was also announced that Matt Tifft will be promoted to the Cup Series. He'll be driving the number 36 car at Front Row Motorsports. Now, I mentioned some of those team changes, such as Furniture Row Racing shutting down and Levine Family Racing switching to Toyota, but there's some more details as well. Firstly, regarding that Levine Family Racing team, Mike Wheeler will be the crew chief for Matt DiBenedetto, moving over from Denny Hamlin's number 11 car. Now, while the drivers might not be changing much at Hendrick Motorsports, the crew chiefs certainly are. Chad Knaus and Jimmy Johnson, arguably the greatest duo in NASCAR history, will be splitting up this season. Chad Knaus has moved over to William Byron's number 24 car to be the crew chief for one of the more promising up-and-coming young drivers. Meanwhile, Kevin Meandering will be moving up from Junior Motorsports Xfinity Series team to be Jimmy Johnson's new crew chief. Denny Hamlin's new crew chief in 2019 will be Chris Gabehart, getting the promotion from the Xfinity Series. Danny Stockman will be the crew chief for Austin Dillon this year, reuniting with that driver for the first time since they raced in the Xfinity Series together. Drew Blickensderfer is moving away from Richard Petty Motorsports' number 43 car. Instead, he will be the crew chief for Michael McDowell. Meanwhile, Scott Graves is moving away from Joe Gibbs Racing and will be the crew chief for Ryan Newman at Roush. So there you have it. Those are all of the notable driver or crew chief changes for 2019. Let's talk about the rules. Now, NASCAR has a history of releasing new rules changes year after year after year. Some fans will praise and others will prove to be quite controversial. And boy, if you like controversy, 2019 might be the year for you when it comes to NASCAR's rules changes. Let's talk about the new aero package that will be run at most tracks 1 mile or longer this year. NASCAR is going for a lower horsepower, high downforce type of aero package. This package will feature a tapered spacer on the engine that will be used to lower horsepower from 750 last year to 550 at all tracks more than 1 mile long. Aero ducts will also be added for most of these races, excluding Pocono, Atlanta, Miami, and Darlington. The cars will feature an 8-inch tall rear spoiler and a larger front splitter with a 2-inch overhang and a wider radiator pan. Now, it's worth noting that these changes are only for most tracks larger than 1 mile. Short tracks and road courses will not have tapered spacers on the engines or aero ducts. The Daytona 500, in fact, will be the only race this season to run with the traditional restrictor plate. All other superspeedway tracks will just make use of the new tapered spacer. The goal of this package is to create closer, more side-by-side racing at most of NASCAR's intermediate racetracks. We've seen some testing already, and it's clear that drafting will now come into play more than it has in the past at mile-and-a-half type tracks. NASCAR fans are almost perfectly split down the middle when it comes to this aero package. Some people are praising it for, creating closer racing and allowing, smaller teams to be more competitive. competitive. But then there are other people who criticize this package for making the cars a little too easy to drive at some of these intermediate tracks and for creating artificial type of racing. This aero package is loosely based off of what we saw in the 2018 All-Star race, and it is worth noting that fan reaction to that race was largely positive. One big reason NASCAR is given for lowering the horsepower is to attract new potential manufacturers. According to NASCAR, other manufacturers besides Ford, Chevy, and Toyota have shown interest in running in NASCAR if they can get the horsepower down below the 900 horsepower engines that we've run earlier in this generation. Drivers as well seem to be pretty split on this aero package. When asked during last year's All-Star race if he would like a package like this to become the norm in NASCAR, Brad Keselowski had this to say: "I am apprehensive that coming with a package like that on a larger scale for the sport will in time deteriorate the ability for the drivers to make a difference, and they will look for other racing venues to achieve that." We've heard drivers like Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch, and a couple others be kind of critical of the package for similar reasons. Other drivers seem to be more willing to give the package a chance, or at least can see some of the benefits of it. When talking about it, Austin Dillon said, "The competition is closer together, and there's a lot of driver skill left in it. It's not lifting and how you get back to the gas or any of that, but it's making the move at the right time. The first race where we'll really get to see this package in action for the first time will be Las Vegas at the beginning of March." And speaking of the schedule, one thing that many NASCAR fans have been desperate for recently is a change to the current Cup Series schedule. Well, don't get your hopes up quite yet. 2019 sees almost an identical schedule to what we ran in 2018. The Roval will remain for the second year in a row after overwhelmingly positive fan reaction. One notable difference is that many races this year will be starting 30 minutes to an hour later than in years past. NASCAR chose to do this in hopes that it might improve ratings, especially with West Coast viewers. Now, I know a lot of NASCAR fans might be kind of disappointed that there aren't going to be many schedule changes this year, but don't get too down about it, because NASCAR President Steve Phelps, as well as others within the NASCAR sanctioning body, have strongly indicated that there could be significant schedule changes coming as soon as 2021. Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway is currently being restored with help from people at Bristol and SMI, and NASCAR has indicated that they would like to add possibly more short tracks and or road courses to the schedule in the near future. Let's talk about the playoffs, because whether you like the NASCAR playoffs or not, they are here to stay. 2019 will be the third year of stage racing. NASCAR has made no indication that they're going to change the 2019 format. Fans seem to be fairly split on the idea of stage racing. A lot of people praise its ability to reward consistency throughout the race and throughout the season and award bonus points that can be put towards the playoffs. But then there are fans that criticize it because it does force cautions during a race and can kind of maybe alter the outcome arbitrarily. The 10 race, knockout round style of the playoffs will remain in place in 2019. Same exact format as last season. Bonus points collected for stage wins and race wins during the regular season will transfer throughout the playoffs, and the champion will once again be decided by a winner-take-all race at Homestead, Miami at the end of the year. Let's talk more logistics. NASCAR recently revealed a new post-race inspection rule. Fans have been asking for this one for a very long time. In 2019, NASCAR has decided that they are going to take away wins for cars that are deemed to be illegal in post-race inspection. NASCAR has decided that if a car is found to have an L1 level penalty after winning a race, they will be disqualified from the event and rewarded last place points, money, and all of that. And if that happens, the second place car will then be awarded the win and everything that comes with it, the points, the trophy, all of the whole shebang. NASCAR is also speeding up their post-race inspection. Now it's going to all occur at the track after the race. So after the race is over, 90 minutes later or less, we will know for sure whether the winner is legit or if they had an illegal part. This is all a part of new CEO Jim France's effort to get back to basics when it comes to all things NASCAR. And yes, that's right, Jim France is still currently the acting CEO of NASCAR. That little interim tag has quietly gone away. So it seems like he is here to stay for the foreseeable future. Now let's talk about the race cars a little bit. Ford and Toyota have revealed new cars. Ford will be bringing the Mustang into the Cup Series in 2019. They had previously run the Ford Fusion since 2006. Now I know we're mostly talking about the Cup Series in this video, but Toyota, it's worth mentioning, is also debuting a new car in the Xfinity Series. Toyota is unveiling the Supra in the Xfinity Series. Now they're still going to have the Camry on the Cup side, but their Xfinity car is getting a facelift. Chevrolet is entering their second year now with the Camaro ZL1 as their Cup car. NASCAR's top level continues to be made up of Ford, Chevy, and Toyota for yet another year. Now we've hit on just about every major thing that changed in this offseason, everything that fans should be aware of. Let's talk a little bit more about the drivers. We already discussed, where they're going to be next season, but now let's talk expectations. Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick won 8 races each last year. It's safe to say that they're going to be top contenders yet again. They started the year off especially strong last year, but teetered off towards Homestead. Be interesting to see if they can put a full year together. Denny Hamlin and Jimmy Johnson were both winless in 2018. First time in either driver's driver's career that has happened. Now, Jimmy Johnson has unveiled a new full-time sponsor with Ally replacing Lowe's. Jimmy Johnson is 43 years old, and his current contract with Hendrick only has 2 years left on it. Time could be running out for him to possibly win his 8th championship. Now, we can't forget about the young drivers that NASCAR hyped up so desperately last year. We actually have a few guys that we might want to watch out for this year. Chase Elliott is entering his 4th year. Blaney is also in his 4th. Eric Jones, Daniel Suarez will be in their 3rd year. There's still a ton of talented young drivers in NASCAR who've gotten an extra year of experience. Alex Bowman, Kyle Larson, William Byron, Bubba Wallace, just to name a few. Last year's champion Joey Logano is definitely going to have a great chance at defending his title. He's still in top equipment with Team Penske, still with his crew chief Todd Gordon. Look for Joey Logano to possibly add to his trophy case. I could run through every single driver in this field and give you my thoughts on them, but I've made plenty of other episodes in the past where I kind of cover that, so I encourage you to go check those out if you're interested in hearing my opinion. But of course, feel free to let me know your opinion down in the comments because, I think this 2019 NASCAR Fans Guide is pretty much over. 2019 could be a very important year for NASCAR. Really, every year at this point is very important for the sport. But this year especially, I think is going to be our first glimpse towards the future. A lot of these young drivers that we've been hyping up for several years finally have some real experience under their belts, have finally seen some success, so they really have something to build off of this year. But then it's also fun to look towards the future this year. 2021 is a big year that everyone has circled. The Gen 7 car reportedly will be released then, plus possible schedule changes. There's a lot to be excited about. There's a lot to keep up with if you're a NASCAR fan right now, so I think 2019 is going to be a pretty decent year. But of course, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like NASCAR, if you like racing, I encourage you to subscribe. I do these types of videos multiple times a week all throughout the NASCAR season, so thanks for checking it out. The main show on this channel is Out of the Groove, and I will be back to making those episodes later this week. So thank you all so much for the support, and I hope you guys have a wonderful Daytona 500 weekend, and I hope you enjoy the 2019 NASCAR Cup Series season.